Hello, I'm Rosie, and this yarn is older than I am. Okay, I'll explain. What I have in this box is a stash of yarn from the 80s and the early 90s that was gifted to me. And since I'm a 90s child, this yarn is older than me. It was gifted to me very kindly by my mother-in-law, who has been a knitter for most of her life. I didn't have a stash of my own, given that I moved house quite a few times in the last couple of years and did not bring any yarn with me. So I was quite happy to take this yarn off her hands. She was quite happy to have it out of her house. And here we are. But that's not it. I don't only have a box of yarn, I have a whole stack of retro knitting magazines from the mid-80s until the mid-90s. So I've decided to make a project of it. I've got a box of yarn, I have a pile of magazines. I want to knit these incredible retro patterns and add some, hopefully, authentic 1980s items to my wardrobe. I'm really excited to get started on this. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be really interesting. I hope it's interesting to you out there as well. Okay, so why do this? It seems a bit like this might be making my life harder than it needs to be. I could also have gone out and bought some yarn. I could also have used this yarn to make whatever pattern I fancied. Yeah, I could. But here's the thing. I think it's such a rare opportunity that I have these two things, these two sets of things that go together. I've had a quick flick through, and obviously I have already looked at the yarn. And I can see that in some cases, the yarn in the box is named in some of those patterns. So if I were here trying to just make some of those patterns, if I bought the magazines and I wanted to make one of the sweaters, I think it would be really difficult to come by the right yarn. And whereas here I have it here in my lap, it's too good an opportunity to pass up. And I don't know, maybe it's a bit nerdy, but I think it's super exciting to have the appropriate materials for the job. So this is why I'm doing it. Also, because I would hate for this yarn to go to waste. My mother-in-law's been knitting for most of her life, but in the last few decades, honestly, she says she hasn't had time to knit for herself. She's knit for her kids, she's knit for her nieces and nephews, but she hasn't really been knitting large items for herself since the 80s. And so she's been looking after this yarn that whole time, and it's all in such good condition, it's really well looked after. I would just hate for it to go to waste. So I'm here to give it a second life. Okay, as you can see, this box is bursting at the seams. It is full. And I'm sure you'd like to know what's inside. I'd be very happy to show you. I actually have a little more that doesn't fit in the box. I'm going to show you that one first. Here we go. It's got its own little bag. That's why it's not in the box. I should mention at this point that I live in Mexico. My mother-in-law, who I mentioned, is Mexican and bought most of this yarn here. Many of them are Mexican yarn brands, so they might be brands that you haven't heard of. Maybe some of them you have, but if there are some unfamiliar names, that's the reason. So this yarn from the brand El Gato is of the line Cristal. That's the line of the yarn brand. It's a synthetic yarn, which is an acrylic and rayon blend. As maybe you can see from this part that's coming out here, it's very fine yarn. It's probably a fingering weight. And they all come in these little bags. This yarn brand, it does still exist today, it's still very popular. And they sell every skein of yarn in these little plastic bags. so that your yarn doesn't get tangled up. You may not be able to see, but there's a tiny hole in the front of the bag. You can see it on this one. There's a hole in the front of the bag where you're supposed to pull out your yarn. So, in theory, your yarn doesn't have to go everywhere. That's their kind of a selling point. Okay, it's pretty tangled up, but I'm gonna do my best to show you. Let's have this one. Here it is. Okay. So it's a fingering weight yarn in this lovely dark orange colour. Almost brown, kind of a rusty orange. It's not at all fluffy or fuzzy. It's quite firm and very tightly wound, actually. Being synthetic as it is, it has this kind of almost a sheen to it, which is kind of interesting for texture. Yeah, it's not, honestly, it's not very soft. So I wonder if it's supposed to be combined with something else, or it would be good for a more of a loose fitting garment. I feel you wouldn't want this really close to your skin. I imagine it would be scratchy. But yeah, here it is, my very messy bundle of yarn, which I guess I'll figure out at some point. But here it is, el gato. Okay, those are out of the way. Now we can go into the box. Okay, honestly, this is so exciting. There's such a variety in here. There's natural yarns and synthetic yarns. There are many blends. There are all sorts of different textures and weights of yarn. And it's just so varied. I'm already excited, even though I haven't decided which garments I'm going to make. I'm already very excited about what's going to become of all of these. Okay, this green one's on the top. I'll show you this one first. These are all without a label. I have a label which I think is the right one. I'm 90% sure this is the label. So, the yarn brand is Berger du Nord, which confused me because I thought this was a French brand, but this yarn is made in Mexico. Yeah, it's made in Mexico. It also says that it's Shetland yarn, which isn't true because it's made in Mexico. But it's a 30% yarn, 70% acrylic blend. Each ball is 40 grams. And I have in total 6 of these. So that feels like it would be enough for a garment, doesn't it? Here, I'll show you up close. Isn't that a beautiful colour? I love this colour so much. It's kind of deep, foresty green. And it's so soft. I hope you can see how soft it is. It's really fluffy. It's got a lovely fuzzy halo on it. And it's, what is it? Maybe a DK, probably. It's not very fine. Oh, this one, I'm excited about this one. Beautiful. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A lovely, hopefully sweater's quantity of this wool acrylic blend. All right, I'll keep that label safe. Okay. We'll take this one next. Equally fluffy, equally soft. Oh, it's just so squishy. It's lovely. Okay, some of these do have labels, so I know for sure what this one is. It's from the brand Filarama, which is also a Mexican brand, made in Mexico. It's Filarama Elite Linea de Oro yarn. So I guess this is their fancy one. This is the fancy one from Filarama. This is Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully it's clear. This is a boucle yarn, which has got such an incredible texture. Again, in such a lovely colour. It's another kind of rusty orange colour, isn't it? I do wonder if this and the first yarn were meant to go together, because look, that's a really good match. So maybe these were bought with the intention of making something with a combination of the two. I don't know actually what the intention was for any of these yarns, because seeing as it was so long ago, my mother-in-law doesn't remember. She doesn't remember what she wanted to make, unfortunately. Obviously, yarns don't have dates on them, do they? So there's a little bit of guesswork going into me saying that these are from the 80s, but it's an educated guess because that was the time when she was knitting the most for herself. She became a mum in the early 90s, which means from that point on, she was knitting baby items and things for her kids and for her nieces and nephews, etc. And so I think that after that point, kind of from the 90s onwards, she didn't really make big items for herself, which leads me to believe if she had bought a sweater's quantity of yarn, which many of these are, which is clearly not for a child, then she would have bought it before the early 90s, right? That's my reasoning behind this. She does confirm that this is true. And also the dates of the magazines track as well. The magazines continue up until the early 90s. And from that point on, it's mostly magazines with kids' patterns. So there's logic here. I've not just guessed completely. So this lovely boucle yarn is also here in a sweater's quantity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 skeins. Oh, it's so soft. I love it and I'm very excited. I don't think I told you what it's made of, did I? I think it's acrylic. Yeah, it's 90% acrylic and 10% nylon. So that's why it's so soft, huh? Okay. All right, moving on. This one. Okay. This one, I have 4 of these. The yarn brand is Tam. That's a Mexican brand which still exists, is also still super popular. I can see it in all the yarn stores here. Maybe it's possibly the most popular actually. And this yarn is labelled as a Scottish yarn. I don't think it is. I think it's a Scottish style yarn because it says made in Mexico. So it's not Scottish, but in style it is. So each of these is 100 grams of pure virgin wool. The meterage is not given on any of these yarns. I don't think any of them has a meterage. So, I can't say for sure what the weight of any of them is, but we can guess. So this one, come on. Maybe I shouldn't have done this, because this one, oh dear. Okay, so this one, I'll wrap it around to show you. Here we are. It's a thicker yarn. Maybe, what's this? Is it a DK? If it's a DK, it's a thick one. Maybe it's an Aran weight yarn. And you can tell the difference. You can tell that it's wool, and it feels like it. And it's in this lovely, just off-white colour, very slightly off-white. So I've got 400 grams of this, which does make me question what it would have been for, because is 400 grams in this weight enough to make an adult sweater? I'm not sure that it is. I'll find out at some point. Maybe I'll find a pattern where it is sufficient. If it's not, then I'll have to figure something else out. Make something for a child. I know. I have nieces and nephews. Maybe they'll want a sweater. Okay. Anyway, this is also lovely. In beautiful condition. A moth has never been near any of this. It's very well looked after. And it smells good. Okay. I think everything else left in the box is synthetic now. We've had all the natural fibres already. Let's take this green one next. As you can see, I made a start on something which didn't work out. So I'm going to unravel and reclaim this at some point when I'm ready. But I have two skeins of this green yarn which has no label. It's a mystery yarn. What can I do with that? I don't know. But it's slightly finer. Probably that's a DK, isn't it? And maybe you can see this yarn has a metallic, fluffy halo to it. There are tiny bits of silvery metallic yarn woven in there with this sort of olive green colour. It's quite festive. Maybe this is good for a Christmas knit. But seeing as there's only two of them, and I think that they must be 50 grams each, I'll weigh them sometime. But yeah, I think this is 100 grams of yarn. What can I do with 100 grams? I could put it together with something else. Maybe that's the answer. Okay, so here's this one. Okay, so there's two yarns left in the box. Sort of, okay. Here's the first one. This is Penguin brand yarn, which is not made in Mexico. Is this the only one? I think this is the only one. This is made in Belgium. I've never heard of this yarn brand before. Does it still exist? I'll look into that. So this is a blend of yarn. Maybe you can see from here that it's got a mixture of textures and colours. Like from afar, it looks beige, doesn't it? But if you look closer, there's loads of colours going through it, and it's got several different textures going through there as well. So it's actually a blend of cotton, viscose, polyester, and acrylic. It's got everything in here. You can see the cotton strands going through. That's the white. The white part is the cotton, and then everything else is the other parts of the yarn. There's kind of a golden part to it, and then the little flecks are in green, blue, pink, yellow. Yeah, it's really very colourful, but in quite a subtle way. It's quite soft as well, very soft. Yeah, I think this would be pleasant to wear. Each of these is 50 grams, and this is the only one that's got yardage on it. 50 grams, 125 metres. The only one. That would have been helpful to have on all the others, but I guess no, that's too much to ask for. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a ball, which I think is 2 more, so that's 7 altogether. I feel a bit sad because she got as far as winding up the ball of yarn, didn't she? Maybe she was really close to making something with this. Maybe she started, I don't know. Maybe she started something, unravelled it into this ball of yarn. I'm not sure. It was so long ago, she can't remember. But yeah, I think in a way it's sad to see, like she probably bought all of these yarns with a plan, or at least an idea. But I also think it's very positive you know, to take on yarn from other people. Life happens, doesn't it? You don't always get to use the things that you've bought, but if someone can, then that's great. I love that. So 7 of these, definitely enough for a garment. It's quite heavy actually, but very soft, very wearable. I think this would be quite pleasant to wear. Okay. Oh, my balls roll off. Okay, and the last one. They're not all the same, but as you can see, they're kind of the same. So I have 5 skeins here, again from the brand Tam. Tam has these long skeins. I think all of their skeins look like this. And the labels are slightly different, but I think it's just because they were bought in different years. Essentially, it's the same yarn. It's an acrylic nylon blend, 100 grams each. No meterage. No meterage given, but made in Mexico. And that's all I have. Actually, one of them says fingering yarn. I lied. This one's got yardage. That makes me think this one is from a later year, because the label also looks more modern, doesn't it? I think this one was added to the stash later, because this does say acrylic polyamide. That's nylon, isn't it? It's the same thing. 100 grams, 430 meters. So again, it's a very fine yarn. It's a fingering weight yarn. It's very soft. I can only imagine that this was to be a baby yarn, because it's so thin and it is very soft and it's synthetic. Would be perfect for a baby, right? So there's 3 in white. These are all the same. I hope they're the same. I think they're the same white. Oh. 3 in white anyway. Only 2 with the labels, so I can't be sure if they're 100% the same. 1 in a very light kind of powder pink, a baby pink, I guess. And 1 in this other pink, which is darker, but they go nicely together. Yeah, I imagine that this was bought for a baby. She probably did make something with these and maybe just had them left over, maybe ran out of time, I don't know. She doesn't have daughters, so it wasn't her baby, whoever it was. But I haven't decided yet what to do with this. Between them, the 5 skeins, that would be enough for an adult garment. The question is, do I want, or does anyone I know want a garment in these colours? Maybe. And more importantly, do I have the patience to make a garment in this tiny fingering weight yarn? Okay, so that's it. The box is empty. It's not a big box, but it was full. There was a lot of yarn in here. Okay, so that was the yarn. It doesn't look like a lot, but that was 7 different kinds of yarn. I think that's a lot, 7 projects. I'm not a fast knitter, so I think this is going to take me a while. Also, I'm not an expert by any means, by the way. In case you were, under the impression that I'm not at all. I'm going to be figuring this out as I go along. So I have to tell you, I'm not here to give you tips. I don't think I can. Many of you are probably much more experienced knitters than I am. But I'm here to learn. I'm here to give it a go, try it out, and see what happens. All right, so you've seen the yarn. You would probably like to see the magazines, wouldn't you? Well, there's a lot of them. There's about 25, 30 of these. So you know what, I'm gonna show you on the floor. Okay, I think this is the best way I have to show you inside the magazines. Obviously, I can't show them all to you in their entirety, much as I would love to, but I'd love to give you a quick snapshot of what's inside. So I've picked up the oldest one, which is 1981. Sorry, 1981. Already, I just love this pattern that's on the front. How beautiful is that? But we've got a lot of mohair, we've got a lot of fuzz, we've got some colour work. This is beautiful. I love this one. Do you know what? I've seen my mother-in-law wear this. She made this one. How incredible is that? And there's one here, which I've pinpointed. Oh, it's this one. I want to make this. I don't have the yarn, but I want to. There are quite a few instances of this incredible colour work and this sort of Nordic style. How cool is that? And this is a German magazine, so that's a bit more understandable. I don't know if I would make this. I've never made something that complicated, but how cool. Here's a slightly simpler one. That might be slightly more manageable. But how beautiful. I love it. I want to show you inside one of the Mexican ones because, I don't know, this might be less familiar to you. I don't think that we're known for our knitwear here in Mexico, but there's a lot of treasures here in this magazine, honestly. Maybe it's kind of surprising how much warm, fuzzy, thick, cabled knitwear there is here. But I mean, it's not sweltering here all the time. Climate change though, you know. Here's one that I've pinned. I think this one, oh yeah, do you know why? Because this has got a boucle yarn in it. And I've got a boucle yarn, and I think this might have been the intended pattern. That's my guess. And I like it. It's quite intense in the shoulders, isn't it? But nonetheless, it looks really cozy and pretty wearable. Like, not very overtly, wildly 1980s, but that could be contemporary. Yeah, so here's some of the Mexican styles. I was surprised by, I expected them to be more colourful, you know. And it's quite subdued, but this is an autumn edition. So maybe that's why. So beautiful. I love them. I want to make them all. One thing I love about all of these is that there's just so much texture everywhere, isn't there? There are so many different stitch patterns, often many in one item. Like this. Doesn't this look so cozy? I mean, it's a bit mohair. That's why it's a bit fuzzy. But the one I wanted to show you. Oh, look at this. I love this one. I mean, these are lovely. Look at those textures. Amazing. This is what I think of when I think of 1980s knits. All those textures all together. But this is the one that I love. I don't have the yarn for it in the box. I would consider going and buying yarn for this one because look how cool. There are several like this. This isn't the only one where it's got
quite an oversized sweater with so many different stitch patterns included, kind of like patchwork. And I just love it. It looks like it would be so fun and so engaging to make. And at the same time, I love how it looks. I think it's also very wearable, very contemporary. At least now, anyway. I love it. There's just so many. I can't show you them all. Oh, I would love to, but I can't. But I did want to skip ahead here to the early 90s because there's something that I love from this period, which is this super complex, beautiful intarsia work, like this one on the front cover. Again, I don't have the yarn for this. I would love to make it anyway, maybe after I've used all the yarn. But there's so many of these. Oh, like here's some more. Isn't that so beautiful? It's slightly oversized. That's very 90s, isn't it? This one also. Would love to. But here's the one I'm interested in. This is the one from the cover there on the left. And oh, I would love to wear it so much. But any of these actually look amazing. That would be a project and a half. But wouldn't it be so worth it? How cool is that? So very 90s. That might be my favorite sort of 90s element. Okay, I lied. One more. This is the last one. I don't think that something like this is going to be on my list because, again, I don't have the right yarn. But I just wanted to show you because it's so classic of the era, isn't it? Early 90s, late 80s. These incredible, look at these incredible multicolored, multi-textured, wildly oversized pieces with so many different yarns. I want to try and find the picture for this one. Oh, but this one is just as good. it's fuzzy, it's hairy, it's all sorts. Oh, here it is. Here they are. Can you just imagine showing up to New Year's Eve in 1992 wearing one of these? I love it.
Alright, so that's the yarn, that's the magazines. So what's my plan? Well, I already mentioned, I think this is going to take quite a long time. I'm a slow knitter, and I'm fine with that. I'm not in a rush. But I do also think that sort of documenting this process is probably going to help me stay motivated with it. I kind of lose motivation on larger projects sometimes. I'm sure I'm not the only one. So it does take me quite a long time to get through a sweater, but I think that sharing this process with whoever's out there will hopefully give me some more motivation to keep going, keep doing it, keep working on it a little bit every day. That's my hope anyway. So besides that, my plan is, well, the first thing I'm going to do is try to make a plan for each yarn. My goal is to use it all up. I don't want to throw any of it in the bin. So my goal is to use it all up in one way or another. There's no telling in some cases if I've got the right amount of yarn or not. So I'm sure it's all going to be quite a learning curve, but I'm fine with that. I'm ready for it. I'm very excited to learn more about knitting through these patterns. Maybe this is obvious, but ideally I want to make things that I will actually wear. There are some wild patterns in these knitting magazines. There are some wild patterns, and much as I'm sure they're probably really fun to make, I'm talking about the fluffy metallic ones, the crazy textures, the enormous oversized items. Yeah, those would probably be an absolute blast to make. It would be really fun, but at the same time, this is kind of all about not wasting this yarn, isn't it? So I want to make things that I'm going to wear. Or at the very least, if it's not for me, something that I can gift to someone I know. What do you think? I'm very excited. Have I mentioned that? Yeah, probably. I am ready to dive in and get started. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be interesting and informative. I hope it's interesting for someone watching out there. Maybe some of you have already done a similar thing. I know I'm not the only one who's got, parents or grandparents who've got stashes of yarn. So if you've already done this before, let me know. How did it go for you? Help me out. If you've got any tips, wow, I'd be super grateful. If you're still here at the very end of the video, wow, thank you for sticking around and listening until the very end. I'm very flattered. If you enjoyed this and you're interested to see what I'm going to do with all this stuff, then please subscribe. Subscribe to this channel so that I know that you are interested, and I'll keep making some more videos. I think I better get started with some actual knitting. That'll be the next video. Until then, happy knitting. May your yarn never be tangled.